I'm going to read you a story. This book is called The Shadow Dog Returns. I actually wrote this book when I was 11 years old, and it was a sequel to my first book, The Shadow Dog. In The Shadow Dog, me and my friend Paywin befriended a shadow dog in my barn. This takes place the next summer. I dedicated this book to my dogs Wilbur and Ellie. During the summer, Paywin had to move to California. I don't know where he moved to in California, but it's a long way from here in Meridian, Idaho. The other day I met a girl named Stephanie Nguyen at Linder Elementary. I decided to show Steph the secret passageway in my barn. Steph has black hair, but she usually wears a hat or bandana. "Over here, Steph," I said. "Okay," said Steph. We headed into the barn, and I opened the passage, and she was awed. "Wow, this is amazing, Ben," said Steph. "I know. You're the only person I've told about it," I said. I opened the passage, and we headed down into the passage, when all of a sudden the passage door closes with a wham. "What just happened?" asked Steph. "I don't know," I said. "This has never happened before." "Let's keep going and see if there's an exit down there," said Steph. "Okay," I said. We kept going down when a burst of wind from further down the tunnel blew down the hall and put out the wall torches. Here's a picture of us entering the tunnel. "What's that barking?" asked Steph. She was right. There was a barking, very faint though, but there was barking. It didn't sound like a normal bark from a normal dog, but I thought it was from a normal dog because it was from a long ways away from us because it would make it kind of strange. "I don't know." "Wait a second. I do know what it is," I said. "Well, what is it?" asked Steph. "I'll tell you later," I said. "Let's keep going down the hall." We continued down the hall to find where that barking came from and to find a way out. Here's a picture of us heading down the corridor. Suddenly we were surrounded by shadows of dogs, and we froze in our footsteps. Our hearts were beating faster than ever. A huge shadow of a dog was on the floor right in front of us, and we stared at the size of it. It started to speak, and we listened closely. "There is a way out from where you came," said the shadow. The shadow dog then pointed up, and we looked. There were many sharp cave rocks. When we looked down, all the shadows were gone. "Look down there," I said. "There aren't any sharp rocks down there. Let's go down there." Oh, here's a picture of the corridor with the sharp rocks. "Okay," said Steph. The first step we took triggered all the rocks to fall. "Run!" I yelled. We both ran. A big rock fell right in front of us. If we hadn't ran around it, we would have been hit by an even bigger rock. We both collapsed and started laughing. "What's so funny?" I asked while I was laughing. "It's just so funny that there was a shadow of a dog that was talking," answered Steph. "Yeah, that was pretty funny," I said. And here's a picture of us after making it safely past the sharp rocks. "What now?" "There's a big boulder in front of us," asked Steph. "I don't know," I said. "I have an idea," said Steph. "What's your idea?" I asked. "I have a bunch of ropes in my backpack," said Steph. "We can use them to climb over it." "Great idea," I said. We threw the ropes over with a hook on the end. It took a few tries, but finally we got it to hook onto something. We climbed over it and started down the tunnel again. Here's a picture of us having made it past the boulder. We saw a bright light that was coming at us very quickly. "What is that?" I asked. "It's fire. It's relighting the wall torches," answered Steph. "Get down!" I yelled, and right when we got down, our backs felt like they were on fire. We looked up, and the wall torches were lit again. "They must think we left since they lit all the wall torches," said Steph. "Yeah," I agreed. We continued down the tunnel once again. "Get down," I whispered. "There's a shadow over there." We jumped behind a big rock. Here's a picture of us hiding behind the big rock. The rock then suddenly turned pitch black. We had been caught. We started running down the tunnel. "Run!" yelled Steph. There were at least 10 shadows chasing after us. Let's knock down the wall torches as we ran," I said. "Shadows won't last in the dark because they need light to reappear. Remember back there where we saw the big shadow? Well, there was one torch that stayed on so that the shadows would appear." We knocked down the wall torches, and it was true, the shadows were retreating. And some were still chasing after us, but they were moving slower and slower by the second. "Look, it's working," yelled Steph. "But there is more in front of us," I said. "The light that's getting put out is pushing them back, so we're safe," said Steph. "Except for that one," I yelled. There was a shadow sitting on the torch we were about to knock down. "Get down!" yelled Steph. Suddenly, a big burst of fire came from the wall torch and across the tunnel. That was a close one, I sighed. Yeah, I know, said Steph. We started to crawl down the tunnel because our legs were sore, when all of a sudden the ground below us turned black, and we knew what it was, and we jumped to our feet and ran as fast as we could, which wasn't very fast because our legs were so sore. There's the light, I said. We're at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, but it looks as if we're a mile away, said Steph. Yeah, I know. That's very strange, I said. Suddenly we started floating in mid-air as if we were in space. What's happening? Asked Steph. Here's a picture of us crawling right before we floated. I don't know. I think the gravity's decreasing, I said. This is kind of fun. All of a sudden we fell to the ground and were pinned to where we couldn't move an inch. Ouch, you fell right on top of me, said Steph. Sorry, accidents happen, I said. We couldn't move. We tried crawling, but it didn't even work. Just a little further, I said. What do you mean, said Steph. We're still a mile away. Not really, I said. When we were floating, we were going a lot faster, and look, we're almost there, so we have to get there somehow. When we get to the exit, the gravity will go back to normal, said Steph. Well, that's a good thing, I said. I'm tired of sitting here. Yeah, I know, said Steph. My legs are hurting. Yeah, mine are too, I said. We were trying to crawl as hard as we could, but we didn't succeed, and our backs were hurting from being pinned to the ground. We're getting closer, I said. How are we getting closer if we're not moving? I think the shadows are under us, making us move, so we will get out of the tunnel, said Steph. We were getting closer and closer when all of a sudden we stopped moving. What's happening? Asked Steph. I don't know, I said. Look, we can walk. I think they brought us to where we were close enough to fresh air that we could walk. Well, sort of walking. It was still hard because we were still affected by the change of gravity. We ran the rest of the way there, and when we got to the exit, we turned around and we could see a few shadows further in the tunnel. We stepped outside and our lungs filled with fresh air. Our hearts were still beating really fast. We made it, yelled Steph. Yes, I exclaimed. I should probably get going now, said Steph. Wait, I said, I never told you about how I knew what the barking was. I'm listening, said Steph. Last summer I knew a boy named Paywin, and I said, and we were playing hide and seek, and when I had to hide, I found the entrance in the barn. You're the only other person I've told about it. Where is Paywin now? Asked Steph. He had to move this summer, I said. Well, that's too bad, said Steph. Yeah, I kind of miss him, I said. We sat in silence for a few moments because none of us could think of something to say. Last time I went in there was only one shadow, I said. I wonder why there was a bunch this time. I should probably go now, said Steph. I don't want my parents to get worried besides, it's about dinner time. Okay, bye, Steph, I said. Bye, said Steph. After Steph had left, I walked back to the entrance in the barn and sat there wondering if it would ever open up again. I waited for what seemed like days, but it was only a few hours before I got bored. I heard the screen door open. It was my dad, and he was carrying out some dinner for me. It was hot dogs and fries, which is my favorite. After I ate, I went in the house, and me and my family played a game of Monopoly. My mom won by quite a lot, and my sister made us some brownies so we could have brownies and ice cream. The brownies were delicious. Later I went back to the barn to check the passage. Suddenly, a shadow jumped at me, and I fell to the ground. It was the big shadow that had told us to leave from the tunnel. There was a lantern on the wall, and it was lit. I jumped to turn it off when all of a sudden I turned dark gray. I tried to run, but I couldn't because he was right on top of me. I saw another shadow entering the barn from the passage, and I thought it was going to help the other, but instead it walked over to the lantern, and everything went black. The second shadow in the room had turned off the lantern. I ran back into the house and went to my bedroom. When I walked in, I turned off all the lights so no more shadows would attack me. I was trying to go to sleep, but I couldn't. I was wondering if that shadow that turned off the light was still alive and if he was actually a good shadow. I think that might have been the shadow that Paywin and I had seen, I said to myself. I finally fell asleep, and I didn't think about it until the next morning. The end.